Hello everyone, my name is Fatih Şemsettin Işık. I'm a junior fellow at Sharq Forum. Today we have the conference titled Towards a New Security Architecture for the Mena region. And I have Mr. Adnan Tabatabai with me, head and co-founder of a Bonn-based CARPO, a think tank in Germany. So how is the conference, Mr. Tabatabai? How do you find it so far?
Very interesting. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for your invitation.
Glad to hear that. We're going to talk about Iran as a regional power and the rhetoric that Trump subjected to the country after his coming to power. So what do you think? Like the rhetoric is harshened, especially after the Obama's, in a sense, opening a safe zone for Iran in regional policies. Trump is has a different policy. So do you think is it possible to turn this into a physical confrontation, or it will remain in as a battle of words? What do you think?
I really think that the first thing President Trump wants to do is to show that the Obama era has come to an end. So with regards to Iran, he has to change the tone drastically. As you know, there was a direct channel between former Secretary of State John Kerry and the Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. Any connection on that high level is now cut off, and I think this is the first reason why Trump's rhetoric is very harsh. The second thing is that he wants to send signals into the region, into allies like Saudi Arabia, like Israel, that had their grievances with Obama. And I think that Trump wants to show them this is a new era again. We're gonna change our outreach. But at the same time, I'm not so sure whether Trump will really be the friend to the GCC states and Saudi Arabia as they may hope, because we actually do not really know where Trump is going to set his priorities. But so Tehran, and I guess also the states in the Persian Gulf are waiting to see what exactly will be the future of the US approach towards the region.
So let me ask this again. Like we witnessed that a kind of flexibility is seen in the regional actors, especially at the center of Syria. For example, in Turkey has drifted his policies in Syria or many other actors in the country, in the conflict-ridden country. To what extent Iran is open to that flexibility, or to erase, in a sense, to thin their red lines in the country, especially after this harsh rhetoric of Trump? What do you think?
Well, I think for Iran it is absolutely necessary, and there is no flexibility, to have a government in Damascus which is pro-Iranian, pro-Tehran. And I think that Trump is not necessarily changing this. The fact that on the ground things are evolving to Iran's benefit, or to Iran and Russia's benefit, cannot let us assume that Iran may change or be more flexible. Where I do see room for maneuver is when it comes to the political process that we need to go through. So Iran may say, Iran will expect that Assad is part of it, but Iran may not enforce, and actually Iran never said it would force Assad on the Syrians forever, but they at least are insisting on the point that Assad should be part of the transitional process. And I think other than that, I do not necessarily see a lot of flexibility, mainly because I think on the ground things are developing in a way that Iran is at least not unhappy about.
Okay. Apart from the rhetoric or the problem in Syria, let me ask this. There is actually a better set of relations between Iran and EU, especially in the economic area. But there are also some problems in the Iranian economy, like flexibility, like the transparency, like some of the areas are actually in a sense occupied by the, for example, the Revolutionary Guards. So, do you see a promising future in the bilateral relations? I mean, considering the fact that there's some problems with the economy. I mean, we see that some planes were bought from the Iranian administration. There are some, I mean, attempts to develop the economic relations. How do you see the future?
Yeah. I guess that the nuclear agreement, we should not forget that the European Union has been coordinating the nuclear talks since its beginning, since 2003. So for 12 years, and now actually even more, but until the day that the agreement was reached, for 12 years, European high officials had been working on this. So there is a shared interest by the EU and by Iran to safeguard this diplomatic achievement. This is certainly already a binding force between Iran and the EU. At the same time, for Iran, as you mentioned, economic growth is very important, and Iran prioritizes the European market over the US market and is trying to explore ways how to circumvent the ongoing restrictions and limitations set out by the Treasury Department in the US to foster EU-Iran trade relations. And it's continuously difficult to do so, and it's a process that will take time. And I guess the appetite or the incentives on both sides, both the EU and its states level and Iran, is strong enough to keep focusing on the improvement of trade relations. At the same time, I have to say the Europeans do not have a good track record in standing against US pressure. So when push comes to shove, I don't know how far the Europeans are willing to go to, in fact, ignore calls from the US to limit trade with Iran and actually go forward and foster trade with Iran. But if we only, as my last point, look at the visit Chancellor Merkel from Germany just had in Washington and the body language between her and Donald Trump, you can really see that these are not necessarily natural-born friends. So I guess Iran is in a good position to improve its ties with the EU in the Trump era.
Thank you for this insightful comment.
My pleasure, really. Thank you.